Jeff Slauson here from 19 News Now at the 19 News digital desk. This is something that could be affecting anybody that uses natural gas to heat their home. Dominion Energy will be raising costs up to 30% for the first time in about 16 years. Now, why exactly are they doing this? They released a statement to us that I highly suggest you go to our website right now, cleveland19.com, to look at in its entirety. But the main reason why is because they say that they have not raised their costs in about 16 years. They say in that time they have put $4 billion worth of infrastructure changes in and are still about $1 billion short of making up that cash. So with rising costs of utilities, rising costs of labor, rising costs of different types of things that they need to do, they're going to need to raise their prices. Now, here's the thing. In the state of Ohio, they need to request that they can have that raise done through the state. The state will be looking at that in every aspect, and we talked to the Ohio Consumer Council about this, and specifically if they feel like this is a legitimate thing to do and a legitimate raise that should happen. Here's the conversation. This is from yesterday. You'll notice I'm wearing a different shirt and a different jacket.
We put together a consumer alert so consumers would know about the rate case that Dominion has currently started. Dominion has requested made a proposal to the Public Utilities Commission to increase its rates for distribution cost for natural gas. And it's a pretty big increase. They're asking for 30% more to charge their consumers for delivering natural gas to them. And so we were honestly a bit startled by how big of an increase that is. And then on top of that, they're also asking for some new riders. You know, a rider is an extra charge beyond the base charge that you're paying on your gas bill. And some of those riders will start out at like $8.78 a month, which, that's not too startling, but then they could go up to as high as $29. They could go up to as high as $29.69 per month. And of course, that's not till 2032, but that is a lot of money. So we again are a little startled about how much they're asking for, but we have a team looking at their proposal, and we're going to look at it very carefully. We have experts who will analyze the proposal and will be participating in the rate case. We'll be presenting testimony and reviewing all of the evidence and asking for all the best information so we can stand up for consumers. You know, we want to make sure that they're not charging any more than they have to provide a safe and reliable supply of natural gas to their customers.
JP, you mentioned how you will look at everything essentially when it comes to the reasons for it. Have they given a reason why they say 30% is what is needed for this price hike?
Well, what they do is they present a rate case is actually a positive thing because you kind of look at a sample year of expenses and they say, well, this is what this cost us, this is what this cost us, and here's the evidence. Here's why we think that, this is costing us this. But their incentive is to make those numbers as high as possible because the more they charge, and not just the more they get from consumers, but then they're also allowed to get a profit on what they charge. So if they're charging me, say, $20 a month for a pipeline or something, if they're charging me, say, $20 a month for a pipeline service they're offering me, they also can get a return on that investment. So, I don't know the figures, 8, 10, or 12%, something like that. I apologize. Our experts know all the right numbers, but they're also getting a profit on top of that. So the more they're saying they can spend, the more profit they'll be making. And one of the terms you hear around the regulatory groups discussing is called gold plating. We talk about gold plating, and then the joke is that a utility is going to want to put in gold-plated pipes because the more expensive the pipes, the higher their profit will be. And obviously, nobody's putting in gold-plated pipes, but that's kind of the joke, that they're going to try to be, as liberal in estimating their expenses as possible. And we're going to look at those expenses and make sure they're realistic expenses. So we know it costs money to get natural gas to their consumers. We know they have a large number of legitimate expenses, but we're going to be going over those expenses with a fine-tooth comb and make sure that they're not overcharging consumers, that they're charging consumers an appropriate amount, like I say, to deliver the natural gas to them in a safe and reliable manner.
So if a 30% hike is deemed as necessary, that's what it will be. Could there be a potential for some back and forth saying that, hey, a 30% is pretty egregious, but 15 or 20 is more appropriate? Is that typically how this goes? Like, what type of an interaction will you have?
Certainly what we've seen in other rate cases is well, what often happens is the utility will say, this is how much we want. And then the Public Utilities Commission of Ohio, the PUCO, they will say, they will look at all the numbers and they will say, we think this is a better figure. And then the Ohio Consumers Council, and we're the state agency that our job is to represent consumers in these cases, we'll usually come up with a set of numbers. And so far, every time I've seen it, the utilities numbers are the highest, the PUCO's numbers are in the middle, and our numbers are the lowest. And typically, it comes around somewhere in that middle ground. I don't recall seeing any utility proposal that's come in at the original price they asked for. So we're certainly hopeful that this isn't going to be that expensive an increase. I mean, we're especially worried about these riders. Some of these riders in the future are going to be more of a concern for their customers than the rate increase itself. I mean, some of the, if they're really going to be collecting, $29 a month in riders in 2032, that's more than $350 in a year. And I don't have an extra $350 laying around to pay for my natural gas. And of course, natural gas, it's not an option. It's vital to your safety. It's vital to the well-being of the Dominion consumers.
Yeah, and you said 2032 at first. You said it does seem far away. It does, but it also does. I mean, it's 8 years away, and
it'll be here before you know it.
Right.
And the 30% increase they're talking about would be right away, probably coming into effect in the next year, and then the $8.78 rider that's right away. So the riders would go up gradually over the coming years. But yeah, it'll be here before you know it. And like I say, the Ohio Consumers Council is going to watch this very carefully, and we want to make sure that Dominion is not charging any more than it has to provide, a safe, reliable supply of natural gas to its consumers.
And JP, a part of that is, it seems to be intervention and at least hearing people out. I'm just going through the release that you all sent out here and the public hearings, the commenting. Explain how people could potentially get involved and hope to have their voices heard in this.
Absolutely. We definitely want the consumers and Dominion's customers to let their voice be heard in this. And it's really important. It's really important that they have their voice heard. The Public Utilities Commissioners, ultimately there's 5 commissioners who will make the final decision on what happens in this rate case. And they will look at the comments. One of the best ways to participate in the case is through local public hearings. And those haven't been announced yet, but those will happen in the coming months. So you'll see an announcement that says maybe there's going to be a local public hearing at this library in Cleveland or wherever, and you're going to see that announcement. And we're going to really try to get the word out on that. And you can come to that. That's the best way to get your opinion out, because if you come to a local public hearing, you're going to be able to look a PUCO commissioner in the eye and tell them how this rate increase is going to impact you, and how your family's budget is going to be impacted by $100 a year or more in extra expenses. But before the local public hearings, you can also make a comment online. If you go to our website, the Ohio Consumers Council website at occ.ohio.gov, we have what we call a consumer alert for this case. And if you go to our website, you'll see it linked up fairly top, or just type Dominion in our search window. And that has links to where not only can you find out where you can put a comment in, but you can also see the docket and see what we're doing in the case, and see what Dominion had asked for. And you can even see what other people are commenting on the case. So definitely public participation is important. The more the public participates, the more important I think the PUCO is ultimately going to see how it affects consumers, and how too high of a price increase is just going to hurt too much.
JP, you answered all my questions here. Is there anything that we didn't touch on that we should have during the interview?
I don't think so. I just encourage people to watch the case, watch for our consumer alert. Search for Ohio Consumers Council on the web to find information. And we do appreciate when people take the time to voice their concerns in the case. And just know that the Consumers Council is going to be fighting for Ohio consumers, for Dominion consumers in this case. And we're going to bring a team of experts in to analyze this. So we're making sure that Dominion is only charging what's necessary and affordable for a safe, reliable supply of natural gas.
We have much more on this and the other stories of the day on cleveland19.com. Highly suggest you go there if you want to learn a little bit more if you happen to be a Dominion customer. All right, coming up in about 9 minutes from now, we have our Super Bowl preview over on CBS 19. Go ahead and tune in there. And then, of course, we'll have 19 News, 10 o'clock CW, 11 o'clock CBS. So I'll see you over on there.
19 News, now streaming on Samsung.